morning, good morning, good morning. So tomorrow is the Mansfield Homosexual Pride Parade, and we will have a presence there. So if you are local in Ohio, I ask that you either contact me or Coach Dave, and that you come out and join us in witnessing to the lost and fulfilling our commission, into going out and doing something, to being fishers of men, to trying to catch them so that Jesus can clean them. Hallelujah. Also coming up is Lifting the Veil. Here, the Watchmen. That'll be next weekend, the 9th through the 11th. What else? The Wisconsin Christian News events. There's 2 events that they're involved in right now, and one is the October 17th through the 20th. And you can go to that. It's Earnestly Contending for the Faith. And it's going to be 2 days in Marshfield and then 2 days in Milwaukee. So if you can come out to that, if you want to ride up with me, if you are local in Ohio or between where I'm at and where Marshfield, Wisconsin is at, then contact me and you can ride up with me. Same thing for the Homosexual Pride Parade tomorrow. If you want to go and witness and you're in this area, give me a call and you can ride with me. Also, the 5th annual Homosexual Pride Festival in Marquette, Michigan in September. If you would like to go up for that, I am going up for that. Lord willing, I will be there. So I just wanted to say that because once again, I'm sorry to the Texas Salt and Light Brigade, and I know that that's your weekend, and I was going to plan on coming, but I need to be boots on the ground, and I need to be in the battlefield, and it just so happens that there is a Pride Festival in Marquette, Michigan that weekend, and I'm going to be there, Lord willing. So sorry about that, guys and brothers and sisters, but I'm sure you understand. I wanted to say happy birthday to Lisa Pugh, Rob Pugh's wife, and to those who have emailed me about the e-newsletter. It is coming out. I don't know, Jared, if we know when that's going to go out or not. Yeah, it'll be out this weekend. You will receive it. I reached out to somebody, to a homosexual, a drag queen, a confused, lost individual yesterday, and then all of a sudden I got attacked overnight. So if you saw a bunch of ignorant and rude comments on the Facebook page, I apologize, but that's what happened. And we can't get mad at them for acting lost because they're lost. And so have compassion and when you see their names, and just pray for them. And if you feel led to, reach out to them. Okay. So I wanted to share a meme that I posted yesterday. I got a call, and it was some kind of telemarketer or study or something, and I sent it to you, Jared. And so I don't know what the guy's name was. I just named him Joe. And so in this like study, and I usually don't even answer, let alone participate. I usually say I'm not interested, thank you. But yesterday I kind of felt like seeing what they were doing. And so he was just asking some questions. And then he asked me, he says, well, are you now heterosexual didn't come until like last. It was like, are you homosexual, transgender, cisgender, non-binary, heterosexual, bisexual? And I said, well, I'm God gendered. And he stopped. And he said, well, what's that? I said, well, it's the gender that God designed me from the very beginning. I said, there's only 2, And he said a little tiny explicitive and then hung up on me. And so I've never had a telemarketer hang up on me. I've always had to hang up on them. And so I felt like that was kind of an accomplishment. So I wanted to share it with everybody. So I want to go right into something. And, a lot of times when we talk about the Word of God and we talk about the truth, the absolute truth, I hear things like, "Oh, but David, the Bible's open for interpretation," or that's not my interpretation of what that verse says. Well, there's only one interpretation, okay? And some good examples, and I might, anger some people here by calling out what they or who they may watch or listen to, and that's on you. That's between you and the Lord. But some good examples of the open to freedom of interpretation are Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists, Christian Scientists, Christadelphians, the Roman Catholic Church, Dispensationalists, Benny Hinn, Joyce Myers, Joel Osteen, T.D. Fakes, Creflo Dollar, William Branham, and all those other false teachers, those cults, the sects, the false preachers, all of it. And you think, okay, so if everything is open for interpretation, if there's no absolute truth, how about if you had to go to the criminal law system and you said, well, excuse me, Your Honor, but my interpretation of the law is, no, that wouldn't work. You see, the freedom of interpretation idea comes from postmodern secular philosophy. And it is a philosophy that teaches that there is no such thing as absolute truth. What's true for you is not true for me, and that all beliefs are equally valid. And those who hold this view, they believe that everything is relative to something else. And so there can be no actual reality. And see, because of that, there are ultimately no moral absolutes, no authority for deciding if an action is positive or negative, right or wrong. This view leads to situational ethics. And that's the belief that what is right or wrong is relative to the situation. And so if there is no right, there is no wrong. Therefore, whatever feels good or whatever seems right, thoughts and feelings, right, at the time and in that situation, then that is right. If it feels right or if I think it's right, then it's right. And if you don't like it, you're wrong. If you don't agree, you're dumb. You don't have a clue. You're a bigot. You're a racist. You're a Christian. But of course, situational ethics leads to a subjective that whatever feels good, this whatever feels good mentality or this death style of whatever feels good, whatever I think, it has a devastating effect on our society and on individuals. You see, this is postmodernism. Creating a society that regards all values, all beliefs, all lifestyles and truth claims as equally valid. It's a false and deceptive philosophy, beloved, that just doesn't work in the real world. And yet almost everyone you meet today believes in postmodernism and freedom of interpretation. Political correctness is an offshoot of postmodernism. See, to make the statement that there is no absolute truth is illogical. Yet today, many people are embracing this cultural relativism that denies any type of absolute truth. I used to state, and I used to make this statement, and after a while of saying it enough, the Lord convicted me of it. I used to say that, well, it's all about perception. I say, because if I'm 10 foot tall and you're 3 foot tall, and we both walk into this room and I say that this room is small and you say this room is huge, we're both right. But that's not true. That's just not true, because it is not about our perception. Because what it is that there's one fact about that room. The room is 9 foot by 12 foot, no matter what size you are. And that's the truth. That's the fact. The absolute is that the room is so big, has nothing to do with how big you are. So it's not about our perception. If they say yes, okay. If they say yes to a question, like somebody says, well, there is no absolute truth. So you say to them, are you absolutely sure of that? Are you absolutely sure that there's no absolute truth? And of course, if they answer yes, then they've just made an absolute statement, which in and of itself implies the existence of the absolute truth. See, what they're saying, that the very fact that there is no absolute truth is the one and only absolute truth. Besides the problem of self-contradiction, there are several other logical problems that one must overcome to believe that there is no absolute or universal truth. One is that all humans have limited knowledge and finite minds, and therefore they cannot logically make absolute negative comments. You see, a person cannot logically say there is no God, even though many do, I know. But they cannot logically state that there is no God, because in order to make such a statement, that person would need to have absolute knowledge of the entire universe from beginning to end. And since that's impossible, the most anyone can logically say is, well, with the limited knowledge that I have, I do not believe there is a God. However, I believe that by acknowledging that you don't believe in God means that you believe in God. So I kind of think that atheism is an oxymoron. See, another problem with denial of truth is of the denial of absolute truth, universal truth, is that it fails to live up to what we know to be true in our own conscience. You see, our own experience. And it fails to live up to what we see in the real world. If there is no such thing as absolute truth, then there is nothing ultimately right or wrong about anything. So what might be right for you doesn't mean that it's right for me. So while on the surface, this type of relativism seems to be appealing, what it means is that everybody sets his own rules to live by and does what he thinks is right. Inevitably, see, one person's sense of right, it will soon clash with another person's sense of right. And what happens if it is right for me to ignore that red light? I could put lives at risk. So what if I think that it's right to steal from you? And you don't think that it's right for me to steal from you. Clearly, our standards of right and wrong are in conflict. If there's no absolute truth, there's no standard of right and wrong that we are all accountable to, then we can never be sure of anything. People would be free to do whatever they want. If they want to rape, to murder, steal, if they want to commit homosexuality or lie, if they want to cheat, if they want to molest children, if they want to dress up as the opposite sex, no matter what it is, no one could say that those things would be wrong if there's no absolute. Oh, wait a minute. Because that's what we see happening right now in our own society. See, imagine all of the most horrible crimes and acts happening daily, right on the sidewalks, while your children and your grandchildren walk to the playground. How about when they get to the playground, that there are some pedophiles and homosexuals there waiting on the jungle gym to play with them? How about the ones that call themselves clover gender because they're children trapped in adult bodies? So why would you have a problem with them playing with your grandchildren? How about imagine that drug addicts are sitting on the benches in those parks, shooting up while your children play, and it's all okay? Imagine that you're not able to say that it's wrong or right because there is no right or wrong. You see, beloved, if this were the case, then there could be no government, there could be no laws, no justice, because nobody could even say that the majority of the people have the right to make and enforce standards upon the minority, because that wouldn't work either, because the majority wouldn't have a leg to stand on either. You see, a world without absolutes, horrible world imaginable. And that's the world that we're heading into. You see, from a spiritual standpoint, this type of relativism results in religious confusion with no one true religion. You see, I know a lot of us say, well, I hate religion because we look at the Pharisees as religion, but Christianity is the only one true religion. And so if there is no one true religion, then there would be no way of having a right relationship with God. You see, all religions would therefore be false because they all make absolute claims regarding the afterlife. And it's not uncommon today for people to believe that two diametrically opposed religions could both be equally true, even though both religions claim to have the only way to heaven or teach two totally opposite truths. You see, we have those who claim to be Christian that are standing up for the Islamic movement, and they're standing up for homosexuals. So what kind of example is that? It's a false and ignorant and deadly example is what it is. People who do not believe in absolute truth ignore these claims, and they embrace a more tolerant universalism. The universalists, okay, that teaches that all religions are equal and all roads lead to heaven. People who embrace this world view ferociously and emphatically oppose evangelical Christians who believe the Bible when it says that Jesus is the way, he's the truth, he is the life, and that he is the ultimate manifestation of truth. And the only way that you can get to heaven is through Jesus Christ. You see, tolerance has become the one cardinal virtue of the postmodern society. The one absolute and therefore intolerance is the only evil. See, notice how often Christians are told they're intolerant bigots these days. And they're told that their preaching is a hate crime and that they should not be so judgmental. Well, beloved, that is postmodernism and relativism being used to silence those Christians. See, any dogmatic belief, especially a belief in absolute truth, is viewed as intolerance, the ultimate sin. How many times has the left attacked Christians? And I'm not talking about left and right. The left attacked Christians, saying that they're intolerant. Now, I remember when I got my booth at the Columbus Pride Parade, and they took my registration fee, and they told me, okay, this is your booth, this is where you'll be. They accepted it, they gave me all the details, and then the day before they said, no, you cannot be in our parade. I said, well, why not? They said, because you're not open and affirming. I said, well, I am very open and affirming. And they said, well, not according to our definition of open and affirming. I said, well, look, I said, you want me to be tolerant, but you don't want to be tolerant to me. And she said to me, David, we're past wanting any tolerance. We don't care about any tolerance. Now, you either accept us or you're going to deal with us. It's okay. You know, so this is how blind they are to truth and to logic. See, those who deny absolute truth will often say that it is all right to believe whatever you want, as long as you don't try to impose your beliefs on others, right? But this view is that their belief about what is right and wrong, and those who hold this view most definitely do try to impose it on others, because see, we see people who believe that homosexuality is okay, and we see people who believe this, and as they believe this, they're trying to push this onto your children. So as they believe that homosexuality and all these other made up sexualities and genders, as they believe they're okay, it's going to be just as okay for them to come to your child's school and to convince your child or your grandchild that they too need to have engaged in sexual activity with other boys and girls and men and women and dogs and cats and trees and who knows what else. But this is what we're up against. This is the ignorance. You see, they set up a standard of behavior which they insist others follow, thereby violating the very thing they claim to uphold. Another self-contradicting position, you see, the LGBTP for pedosexual, pedophile movement wants to silence those who oppose them with truth, but then they want that same right so that they can speak out and attack those very same people. Those who hold such a belief simply do not want to be accountable for their actions. If there is absolute truth, then there are absolute standards of right and wrong. And we are accountable to those standards. You see, this accountability is what people are rejecting when they reject absolute truth. They are rejecting being held accountable for their actions. You see, beloved, God puts the truth in each of us from the very beginning. It's our conscience. Our conscience tells us what things are right and wrong. And even though we try to suppress and to drown out that truth, when somebody makes a statement that makes that truth bubble up or fizz just a little bit, we get angry and we start yelling and screaming and we want to attack people. But it doesn't change the fact that that's the truth. It doesn't change the fact that we were convicted because of our own conviction of what is right and what is wrong. Even though when we know something is wrong, we will promote that it is right. We will stand up for it being right. I have physically stomped people just to prove to them that I was right and happy and content with my death style choices. That is the truth that God places in each one of us, trying to bubble up, and that is our flesh and the evil that has a hold of us, trying to stomp that truth down. And so we can't physically reach in and stop it, but we don't want it to come out, so we attack physically what we can, and a lot of times verbally. Like we just see all these what the internet calls trolls. I'm not calling these homosexuals, these drag queens, trolls, but the internet calls them trolls when they come trolling onto a page. But what we see how they reacted to me sending a message to one person, they all wanted to come and attack my page and say, oh, yeah, you're fake God and you're fake and this and that. Well, that is the very epitome of trying to drown out the truth. That's the very fear of not wanting to be held accountable for their actions. You see, the denial of absolute truth, of a universal truth, and the cultural relativism that comes with it are the logical result of a society that has embraced the theory of evolution as the explanation for life. See, it's a naturalistic evolution that they wish to be true. And if that naturalistic evolution is true, then life has no meaning. Then we have no purpose, and there can't be any absolute right or wrong. See, man is then free to live as he pleases, and he is accountable to no one for his actions. And so that is why they want you to believe that you just evolved out of nothing. That is why they want you to believe that it's all about your thoughts and your feelings. See, yet no matter how much sinful men deny the existence of God and the absolute truth, they will someday stand before him in judgment. and every knee will bow. Believe that, beloved, and every tongue shall confess. You see, the Bible declares that, and that is the absolute truth. The Bible says that what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power, his divine nature, has been clearly seen. You see, it's understood from what has been made. It's understood in the very creation, so that men are without excuse. We are without excuse, beloved, because he has placed that truth in each of us. See, because for those of you who knew God or know God, but you don't glorify him as God or give thanks to him, your thinking becomes futile and your foolish hearts will be darkened. It's Romans 1:19 through 22, Jared. I'm sorry. But and although you may claim to be wise, you'll become a fool, the fool. You see, there is a lot of evidence for the existence of absolute truth. And I want you to think about that over the weekend, because Monday we are going to talk about the evidence for the existence of absolute truths. Because the absolute truth is that there is only one way. There is only one truth. There is only one absolute truth. That truth is Jesus Christ. And I know that you don't, that you'd rather argue, that you'd rather sit there and while I'm speaking, and you might be watching, or you may watch this later, but while I'm even speaking right now, you're already thinking about how you're going to respond. But all I'm asking you to do is just take a moment to just focus on the words that I'm saying here, and not think about how you're going to respond, because that is your flesh. That is your thoughts and feelings. That is you not wanting to be held accountable for your actions. And beloved, I want us all to be held accountable for our actions. Jesus Christ is the truth. And the truth can do one of two things, or usually both. The truth hurts, but it also has the power to set you free if you allow it to. The truth has taken me. My truth was Romans 1:27 that told me that not only that men burning in lust for one another, giving up the natural use of the woman, that verse told me that not only was I living sinfully, but I was living unnaturally, against in total opposition, in total defiance to God's very intent for creating me. You see, before it all, when God created man, God's very intent or thought is under attack. It's a deliberate, it's a direct attack to defile the very intent of God's creation in man alone. That's why sodomy is a crime against nature. It's not just a sin. But I want you to know that it doesn't matter what you've done. What matters is that you know that, see, God is going to be available to you. He is as close as you want him to be. He's as near as you allow him to be. But there's a verse in Isaiah 55 that says I think it's 6, 7. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. That verse tells me that his patience is exhaustible. And so the time of salvation, the time to reach out to him is right now. And I beg that you will. I beg that you would reach out to somebody who is not lost in the lie, but to somebody who's walking in truth and freedom. That's all the time we have for today. And thank you all for joining me. I love you all. Peace.